So for this assignment, we're going to be balancing chemical equations. In each example, there's a chemical equation given at the top, and there's a place for you to list the elements underneath the arrow. The goal is to make it so that you have the same number of atoms of each element on either side. For example, the same number of sodium atoms on both sides of this equation, and the same number of oxygen atoms on both sides of the equation. In the equation itself, the only thing you can adjust is the coefficients, which are the areas I highlighted in yellow. You cannot change the elements, and you cannot change the subscripts. So let's begin. When we look at this equation, we want to start by counting how many atoms of each element we have. So we start with 1 atom of sodium on the left and 2 on the right. We get the 2 because there's a 2 next to sodium, and currently there's no coefficient, which means the coefficient is 1. On the left, we have 2 oxygen atoms for the same reason, because the subscript is 2. And on the right, we have 1 oxygen atom. We can't decrease the number of atoms, so we'll need to increase the number of atoms so that they match. Let's start with the sodium. We have 2 atoms of sodium on the right, so we could try putting a 2 here so that we now have 2 atoms of sodium on the left. To balance the oxygen, we have 2 atoms of oxygen on the left, so we could try putting a 2 here so that we'll now have 2 atoms of oxygen on the right. At first, this looks balanced, but let's double check. Sodium, 2 on the left, sodium, 2 times 2, which is 4 on the right. And so you have to be careful because when you adjust one thing in a compound, it adjusts everything in the compound. We have 2 oxygen on the left, and we have 2 oxygen on the right. So the sodium is not balanced. What if we change this number to a 4? Now we have 4 sodium on the left, and we have 2 times 2, which is 4 on the right. We have 2 oxygen on the left, and we have 2 oxygen on the right. So now the equation is balanced. We're going to do the same thing for the next few problems, just changing the coefficients. If you don't need to change the coefficient, you can just leave it blank. Or if you prefer, you can put a 1 there to remind yourself.